Are aliens keeping us prisoner like in a zoo? According to the zoo hypothesis, aliens are looking at us right now, and we are prisoners in a kind of cosmic zoo. I'll tell you all about it in this video, so stay tuned and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any of my videos. It also helps me to continue my work here. Thank you, friends, and welcome. We humans could just be prisoners of a superior extraterrestrial civilization. It sounds creepy, but it is supported by recognized scientists under the name of the zoo hypothesis. The zoo hypothesis is an answer to the so-called Fermi Paradox. Enrico Fermi is considered one of the most important astrophysicists of all time. However, he's best known for a consideration that, according to legend, he expressed about aliens during his lunch break. He and his colleagues were discussing the probability of extraterrestrial life, and Fermi said, "Where are they all?" This sentence went down in history as the Fermi Paradox. But what exactly did he mean by it? The Fermi Paradox consists of two statements. Firstly, our galaxy is so huge and full of star systems that there must be intelligent extraterrestrials somewhere. Secondly, we have never found any evidence of these aliens. Taken together, these two facts are paradoxical. If there must be aliens somewhere, why do we not see anything of them? Since Fermi formulated his famous paradox, a vast number of scientists and amateur astronomers have tried to find solutions. There are very simple explanations, such as there are actually no aliens, we are alone. And there are also very complicated approaches, such as the idea that extraterrestrials exist on levels of consciousness that we cannot perceive. But which answer is true? That will probably only be possible to determine once we penetrate deeper into the universe. Perhaps it is not even about finding the only true answer to Fermi's question, but more about thinking about the universe itself. Science fiction author Stephen Baxter said, "Thinking about paradoxes is the way in which human understanding progresses." I think the Fermi Paradox tells us something very profound about the universe and our place in it. Feel free to share your own personal answer to the Fermi Paradox in the comments. Why have we not yet discovered any traces of extraterrestrial civilizations? Okay, Fermi asked the right question. Now we just need the answer, and that could be the zoo hypothesis. It was first proposed by physicist John Ball in 1973, and he described it as follows. Extraterrestrial intelligent life could be almost omnipresent. The obvious failure of this life to interact with us can be explained by the hypothesis that they have set us aside as part of a wilderness area or zoo. In this case, our solar system would be a self-contained area that can be observed from the outside by more highly developed civilizations. However, we cannot perceive our observers from the inside, either because the observers have set up technical devices that make it impossible for us to look outside, or because it is not cognitively possible for us to look out of our zoo. For example, imagine a goldfish in a glass of water. To us outsiders, it is obvious that this goldfish is in a small prison. However, the goldfish will hardly perceive this from the inside, as this simply exceeds its cognitive abilities. Sorry to all goldfish, but it's like this. For the goldfish, its glass is its world, and it would never think that it was put in there by a higher species called humans and is now being observed. According to the zoo hypothesis, we are the goldfish, and our solar system, or our part of the Milky Way, is our goldfish bowl. But who is standing outside and watching? It's kind of creepy. Now it's getting very hypothetical, but let's think about the details of the zoo hypothesis. If there is an interstellar civilization in the Milky Way, then it is very likely that there are others. For the galactic zoo to work, i.e. for the isolation and observation of species that are not yet as developed as us, the interstellar traveling alien empires would have to have concluded some kind of non-contact pact. Because if an alien species suddenly says, "Oh, come on, what the heck, we're going to make contact with humanity now," then the zoo would be ruined. Some of you may say that this scenario sounds extremely far-fetched, but is it really? The same construct exists on Earth, namely the so-called uncontacted peoples who live apart from modern civilization, and the international community has agreed to leave these peoples alone. The Sentinelese people, for example, live on an island in the Andaman Islands, an archipelago in the Indian Ocean. They are completely isolated, uncontacted, and from our perspective, probably lead a very archaic way of life. Okay, every now and then a Christian missionary goes to the island and is greeted by a hail of arrows from the Sentinelese. So this whole hypothetical scenario seems possible and logical in itself. Now the only question is, why would aliens do that? Why isolate a backward civilization and leave it alone? Perhaps for the same reasons that we leave the Sentinelese alone, because we believe that there is a kind of right of self-determination for peoples, and if someone wants to be left alone, then they will be left alone. This is, by the way, a very exciting debate. One counter-argument could be that by not contacting the Sentinelese, we are also denying them access to modern medicine and education. Perhaps one of them is dying of the flu, not knowing that the rest of the world has long since had a cure for it. Can the Sentinelese make an informed decision about whether they want to be contacted or not if they don't know what awaits them in the rest of the world? For example, pizza and binge-watching TV series. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Should uncontacted peoples like the Sentinelese remain uncontacted, or should they be brought into contact with the modern world? But remember, according to the zoo hypothesis, we may be the galactic Sentinelese, unable to form a well-founded opinion on whether we want to be contacted by aliens or not, because we don't know what the aliens can offer us or what they are up to. Okay, that was a bit of an argument for the aliens being very nice and simply wanting to leave us to our own devices, but perhaps the extraterrestrial observers don't have such nice motives. The hypothesis is not called the zoo hypothesis for nothing. And why do you go to the zoo? To look at funny orangutans and other animals and to buy completely overpriced ice cream. Perhaps the aliens are using us as a form of entertainment, like a reality show, Big Brother on a very large scale. I mean, it's not boring on Earth. There's always something going on, and it gets more exciting from season to season. Let's hope that the series doesn't get cancelled at some point. Or, what I would consider more likely, the extraterrestrial civilizations use Earth as a kind of research laboratory for biological species studies. That's something that's also done in terrestrial zoos. A civilization that is much more advanced than ours could perhaps learn a lot about the development of an even more primitive civilization, and thus draw conclusions about other life forms on exoplanets in our galaxy. Maybe making contact would not make any sense at all before we are smarter, because what would we have to offer an advanced alien species? We humans would not try to establish diplomatic contact with an anthill or something like that. The mutual state visits would also be a bit difficult because of the size difference. Those of you who are Star Trek fans may already have an idea of when the time might come for us to contact aliens. In Star Trek, there is a prime directive that says that a civilization may only be contacted once it has developed warp drive, i.e. once it can travel interstellarly. And we are still a little way off from that. Okay, it all sounds highly plausible, but the zoo hypothesis suffers from the same problems as many answers to the Fermi Paradox. It is highly speculative and cannot be confirmed or refuted until we actually meet aliens. What also bothers me a little about the hypothesis is that it makes a lot of assumptions about the psychology and motivation of extraterrestrials. I think that we humans would not be able to grasp and understand the nature and motivations of a species so far superior to us. John Ball, who developed the hypothesis, also expresses himself very differently about the idea in his own study at the end, saying, "The zoo hypothesis seems to me to be pessimistic and psychologically unpleasant. It would be more pleasant to believe that they want to talk to us, or that they would talk to us if they knew we were here. However, there are numerous examples in the history of science of psychologically unpleasant hypotheses that have proven to be correct." As always, I will keep you updated on any new findings in this regard, but that's only possible if you follow the channel and activate the bell. And if you want to support the channel, feel free to visit the Astro shop. Otherwise, I'd say see you in the next video. Take care, friends.